Hey everyone, Shane from Delta Strike Laser Tag here. Want to take a quick second to introduce Delta Strike as well as the award-winning Genesis product line. Over the next few days during the breaks, there will be opportunities for you guys to join us in our virtual demonstration area. Here you'll be able to see all the wonderful features such as selfie camera, wireless charging, video base stations, just all the cool features that the system comes with. We can also answer any questions and help achieve your guys' vision, start the foundation for your guys' project. Looking forward to helping you guys soon. Thanks.
There's nothing more gratifying than watching the faces of people when they come out of the arena. I have never seen anyone come out of that arena with anything but a smile on their face. The amount of fun people have running the system. Part of the reason that our customers have so much fun, the attention to the good shot recognition. You don't want to be guessing whether you tagged them or not. So we have that baby. When you tag someone, you light them up. There's no question you got them because it lights up and your speakers light up and say, good shot. That makes the game that much more fun.
Welcome to the Amusement 360 event presented by Creative Works. Get ready for actionable tips and real takeaways that you can apply to your business. Here are your Amusement 360 hosts.
I'm just giving a shout out to Mike for that music before we get started.
I love it.
Awesome.
Mike, who's just off camera over here. Welcome to Amusement 360, everybody. My name is Danny Gruning. I am the Vice President of Marketing here at Creative Works.
I'm Russ Van Natta. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here at Creative Works, and we are so excited to jump into our first panel discussion to get into the nitty-gritty details of what makes a successful laser tag operation. And we couldn't think of any three better partners to join us on this journey. So Danny and I are going to be moderating, but with us today are Shane Zimmerman from Delta Strike, Jeff Willey from Laser Force, and Mike Ewald from Laser Blast, our three equipment manufacturing partners for laser tag. With us today are Shane Zimmerman from Delta Strike, and Mike, I'll have you turn your volume down. Laser Blast, our three equipment manufacturing partners for laser tag. With us today,
Put in a new
and Mike, I'll have you turn your volume down. Blast, our three equipment manufacturing.
Hey everyone, we're live. Sometimes it's happening. I'm going to check list every once in a while. Hey, Mike, for now, just go ahead and mute the bottom of your screen. Mute yourself until you're able to get that worked out.
Mike, you can do that temporarily.
That's all for now. Just go ahead and mute the bottom of
the microphone on him.
There it is. Okay, cool. Perfect. All right, so. Well, I lost my train of thought a little bit. We do have some amazing partners here, so I'm going to send it across. We'll go ahead and start with Shane. Give us a quick introduction of who you are and what Delta Strike is.
Hey guys, kind of like the video that we just played. Said I'm Shane. I'm with Delta Strike Laser Tag. We are a laser tag manufacturing company. We have just recently introduced the Genesis product line, and so there's a lot of cool features. Won't take up a bunch of time right now talking about them, but if you pop into the virtual booth, we have a full setup similar to what you would see in Arena, and we love to help answer questions, so give us a shout.
Awesome. And then Jeff, if you wouldn't mind sharing and introducing.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Willey. I'm the Vice President of U.S. Operations for Laser Force. We currently have our Gen 8 Infinity system, which is our newest laser tag system on the market. And I'm also an operator for a laser tag arena in Colorado, going through a lot of the same pain that many of you probably are. and learning how to operate in today's new environment. So I look forward to getting to chat with everybody.
Excellent. And it looks like Mike is going to be refreshing his page. He'll be back with us here in just a second. It looks like he's requesting to come back in. So we'll give it just another second to see if he's able to come in and introduce himself. All right. Mike, can you hear us, good sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. So it's your turn. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, so I'm Mike Ewald with Laser Blast. Day to day, I do things like project management and sales and kind of help support our operators and keep them up and running and making some money. We've been making durable and innovative laser tag systems near Detroit, Michigan since 1997. Lots of cool new features like the wireless charging and selfie cameras, and we'd love to talk more about it in our booth later.
I love it. Well, so let's dive in with a few questions, and we'll moderate the chat as well. So if you guys have questions, like we mentioned previously, please feel free to pop those in, and we'll address those as they come up as well. But in order to get things kicked off, and Jeff, I'll start with you on this. Actually, so laser tag has advanced a lot since it was invented back in the early 1980s, late 1970s, and today's experience is very different from just a high-tech dodgeball experience. So what, in your opinion, is the state of what the laser tag experience should be today?
Well, it's definitely come a long way since having a heavy battery around your waist and only getting about a few minutes of play before having to charge it. But really, the best way to describe the state of play today is it's a video game. Mm-hmm. And it's a highly interactive video game at that. So today's game is a lot of instant feedback to players. So knowing when you tag somebody, a lot of interactive features in the arena. So the idea that you're actually having an effect on the environment. So tagging a target and a fog machine going off and a siren sounding and the lights changing around the base to match your team color. So really feeling like you're part of the game, not just firing a laser beam at the other players. And then on top of that, it's about everything that happens between the game. So it's about earning new abilities. It's about seeing your stats. It's about being able to choose your own avatar so you have a little bit of personalization in the game. It's about checking your stats online, getting bragging rights over friends, earning achievements, that sort of thing.
Excellent. Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that we're seeing with the prevalence of esports and that model in general, where the PC-based gaming and everything is so great, but one of the things that it's really done is this kind of guest experience by numbers, right? Where they want to be able to track stats and look at what their history is, and whether it was Nike Plus, 10 plus years ago, that kind of started all of that off, is taking some of that technology and weaving it into an experience. So that way, again, like they feel like they're getting some equity for the time that they're putting in, just like you would with a video game or anything else. So that's a great point. Great point. Mike, let me ask you, so what are some of the things as you're working with customers and they're either doing a new build or they're an existing facility, what are some of those critical questions that you want to evaluate with a customer in order to make sure that they're setting themselves up for success and aren't going to be stubbing their toe on a commonplace error?
So the biggest one is, which market are you targeting? So you want to have a primary market you're going after. And obviously, birthday parties are going to be a part of the mix no matter what your goal is. But you need to know whether you're going for those college students, the teenagers, what's your primary market that you're trying to reach? Mm-hmm. Without that, you can't really make the correct design decisions. And you try to be, like jack of all trades, something to everyone, and you end up being nothing to everybody. Mm-hmm. Some of the other kind of mistakes we sometimes see are things like not getting heat sensors instead of smoke detectors inside the arena, which means you can't have haze. Mm-hmm. And that haze, I've seen some laser tags successful without haze, but it really adds another element of seeing those lasers, especially the new cooler, brighter shaped lasers. And you really want to be able to see those inside the arena.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go ahead and head over to Shane for the next question. While Shane's answering this, Mike, if you could find a way to turn your video on so we can see your lovely face as well, we'd love to have you visually part of that conversation. So Shane, for you, when you're talking to clients and operators that are either already have laser tag or they're looking to add it, how often should they be updating their laser tag experience and adding new elements over time?
So, yeah, I think that's a great question. And, obviously reinvesting back in anyone's business and what are our expenses going to be over the next, 5, 7, 10 years is definitely part of the modeling and future planning. And I think this kind of piggybacks in on what Mike was saying as well. And it oftentimes depends on what that demographic you're going after is. Mm-hmm. And if you're in more of a tourist area, let's say, you have more of a transient audience. You may not need to update and renovate nearly as much as you will if you're in a bedroom community. Whereas if we have a static clientele base, I think most of the time we see people coming in and they're going to look to do a full arena overhauls, 5 to 7 years, potentially coming in, do a full retheme on it. Laser tag hardware, it should last you anywhere from 7 to 10 years. Really, for durability purposes, the equipment can continue to run forever. But as far as features are concerned, you normally want to look at that, around 7 years. If we think about where technology was 7 years ago, iPhones were just starting to be a thing, and we just started coming out of the dark ages, so to speak. So every 7 years, I think technology definitely hits a point. Now, we have some great customers like Airway Lanes in Michigan. That's a mutual customer. And they come in every year and they do something, whether it's just adding in some different props and pieces. This last year we did custom soundtracks and we just did some integrated prop pieces. Mm-hmm. It was a good investment, but it wasn't a complete redesign of the arena. But so much of it, I think, goes back to marketability, and everybody's looking for something in your store that you can go out and say, look what's new, a reason to communicate with your guests. And so adding in new attractions or retheme or even just integrated props, I think it's a great way to come back at it year after year. So minor investments, I would say yearly. Major investments, I'd say every 5 to 7 years.
And one of the great things about that, you mentioned Airway, and a couple of years ago, we had Mark Weiss, who's the general manager at Airway in Michigan. He was at an operator interview here at Amusement 360, and we talked quite a bit about that idea of reinvesting, even if it's something small every year. And his entire thesis about that business is change or die. Mm-hmm. And that was his concept before we hit the pandemic of we always need to be finding ways, whether it's in laser tag or anywhere else in our business, finding little things that we can do or big things, just depending on the circumstance, that we can kind of continually reinvest and show our customer base that we are reinvesting in their experience and we want to make it as great as possible.
100%. And we're all stewards of our customers' in money, so to speak. And so our customers need to see that the money that they're spending, we're not just taking it and buying big fat steaks. We're reinvesting into their experience so the next time they come in, it's as big and as bad and as exciting. And you'll have that from the manufacturing side. You guys see it at Creative Works. We see it at Delta Strike, and the operators see it as well. Customers want to see you reinvesting in them.
Absolutely. Well, and Mike, glad to have you back in full swing. And one question that I wanted to follow up on that you had mentioned just a little bit ago was, making sure that we're identifying the right demographics. So that way, we can either pick the right features within the equipment that we can use. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning here is making sure that we're looking at the capacity of what we're building out the experience to be, because we want to be able to accommodate for a couple of parties at the same time on a Saturday, but then we also want to be able to make sure that on those busy Saturdays when we're at 90+% capacity, that there's lots of stuff to do. But then on a Tuesday afternoon, we need those different targets and elements and things to do some of the heavy lifting for us, because there aren't going to be as many bodies. If there's only 4 or 5 people in that larger space, how am I augmenting and filling in additional points of engagement for that? And so what are you guys typically seeing, Mike, right now as far as a good starting point for your capacity, in order to get sound revenue numbers? And then from there, where should folks maybe kind of try to push past a little bit to make sure that they're really hitting some sweet spots?
Sure. So typically you want to have at least 20 players in a 3,000 square foot arena is kind of the floor for what your capacity should be. And the nice thing about starting that way is when you are busy on those Saturdays with birthday parties, you can have spare vests or some of the vestless phasers that we all offer,
Mm-hmm.
and that allows you to get more use when you do have those birthday parties in there where you don't necessarily need the special game formats or the extra space for more strategy based gameplay for the people that are happy with just tag the flashing lights for those birthday parties.
Yeah.
But you also want to have those interactive features, the video targets, the mines, and all the special game formats for your more demanding players that you can appeal to with kind of like VIP game nights on your weekdays. So, you might only have 12 to 16 players on when you're doing the strategy based games in that same arena where you put 24 on a Saturday.
Right. Yeah.
And I think all of our systems can have the ability to do this. And so I think as an industry, one of the things that's important to look at here is demographics naturally segregate themselves. From 10 in the morning to 7 o'clock p.m., you're normally running traditional birthday party style games. It's, down and dirty laser tag, it's high volume. But then when we hit that 7 to 9 or 10 o'clock, we start getting more of those tweens. Moving into the late evenings, that's when we start to implement these strategy games. Mm-hmm. And all the systems can drive those interactive devices. So you play game type number 1, that's going to be your down and dirty laser tag. Then you can just start going with a are we still there? Did they leave us? Oh, okay. But then, as you get later, you can change the game format, and the system tells all those interactive pieces what their role is in that specific game format. So it's not like you have to go and configure these hardware components. It's real easy to expand the game based upon the time and who's in the facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the can I add one more thing?
Jeff.
So one of the things that we've been focusing on is, so definitely I agree that the demographics tend to segregate themselves. I mean, it's easy to picture teenagers and college students coming in at night and birthday parties in the morning. But we've noticed that even like during the day, you're going to get a mix of players. You'll get a birthday party mixed in with like a walk-in family that has older teenagers that love to, we call it money hunting, to pick on the younger kids. And so we challenge ourselves, hey, how do we come up with game types or use targets so that they can coexist in the arena? Because it's not very financially feasible to do private games on Saturdays. I'm not going to take my 40-person arena and do a 10-person birthday party. Right. So one of the things we've done is we've actually used interactive targets as a way to kind of offer things to both players. So as an example, teenagers love to go upstairs. They take the high ground because everybody knows in a laser tag arena, you go upstairs and you score a lot of points. Well, we put all of our cool interactive beacons downstairs, and they have things like trigger a nuclear meltdown on the upstairs and wipe everybody out, or get a 2x point multiplier, or get invulnerability for 30 seconds. We found the younger and more tentative players will hang out downstairs, and we've actually tuned it so that you can actually outscore those high-scoring teenagers that are upstairs by playing smartly downstairs. And so we're trying to use newer interactive targets and technology so that you can actually have demographics coexist.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, I'm going to throw another question right back to you because you happen to be an operator as well. And so I think you would be positioned to answer this question pretty well. Obviously, when it comes to laser tag, the equipment is important, the integration is important, the theme and the look and the experience are important. But just as important as that is the staff and the people you have working that experience and what they can provide to your guests. Can you talk about some of the qualities that make and the characteristics of a good laser tag marshal or employee or whatever you may call it at your center?
Sure. And actually, if my boss heard me say this, he would cringe, but I would say that the staff is more important than the equipment. And I'm saying that as an equipment manufacturer. But yeah, your staff makes or breaks the experience. And so the qualities that we look for, the biggest one is guest service and the ability to put other people's needs and experience above your own. And that's really key. So when you're in the arena, when my employees in the arena, I want them to actually be able to focus on the guest and not think about, man, can I find a dark corner to take a break? Or I only have 30 minutes till my food break. What do I want for lunch? Mm-hmm. We want them actually passionate about making sure people have a good time. And so, I've seen some of my employees see that some players are struggling and grab a vest and put it on and play with them and take them to go escort them to take out the bases and get bonus points. So that's one thing we look for. The other thing is, we teach the Disney approach to customer service or guest service. And a lot of that is recognizing combustion points or being a customer service ninja and being proactive and not reactive. So by that, I mean, don't wait for someone to come to you and say, hey, I need help. You'll notice signs. Like, for example, if you see somebody kind of looking down at their phaser more than they're looking out into the arena, that's probably a sign that they're having a technical glitch. So don't wait for them to come up to you and find, help. Go up and say, hey, can I help you? You need 2 hands on the phaser. And then you can kind of adjust that. Or where the popular spots are in the arena. So you can kind of see where people are starting to butt heads. Don't wait for it to be a physical altercation or someone cursing out someone else. Go in, break it up, and say, hey, let me show you my favorite spot where I can score a lot of points.
I like that terminology of customer service ninja.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
Being
quite a
proactive.
bit.
That's fantastic. Shane, I want to throw a question to you, and I think the answer is going to be it depends, especially on geography. So
not with me.
But the question I have is, when it comes to pricing laser tag experiences, how do you recommend pricing when it comes to a single game? And then how do you have them bundle that into 2 or 3 games and how that discounts if they purchase more? What is your philosophy around that for operators?
So the industry average right now is $850 a game. But let's just, I'll focus on the U.S. market right now. We really have 3 currencies in the U.S. We have the Northeast, the California, and the rest of the United States dollar, right? And so what you see a game price in New York is not going to be the same as what you'll see in Indianapolis, for instance, same as California. But as a whole, if you're in most of the country, you're going to see $850 as about an average price laser tag game. And most stores should be doing, if they're not doing, they definitely should be doing multi-game pricing. So round numbers, I mean, that would be like, 8 for 1, $1 discount for 2, so 15, another $1 discount, so you're 23. Boy, that was a lot of math quickly. But 23 for 3 games. And you'll find 60%, no different than a value meal at McDonald's, right? Small, medium, large. 60% of people are going with medium. And that's what you're going to find. 60% of your clients are going to buy a 2-game package. The first game, they're going to learn how to play. The second game, they're actually going to really get into the experience and enjoy it. So when we start to help our clients look at their pricing models, it's certainly geography. We're going to look at things like, what is an average price of a movie in your area? We're going to do some competitive analysis of what the other facilities are charging, what comparable entertainment, bowling, movies, things like that are charging. And then we're going to look at what their economy is. When I say New York, but even if you get up to, like Buffalo, it's not the same as the city, for instance. So, there is a lot that goes into it, and, we help guide down that path. But I think $850 on average and doing some multi-game discounts with a 3-game package is pretty standard.
And I think when analyzing somebody's market, if you're analyzing your own, if you're thinking about laser tag, it's what you had mentioned of looking at comparable different types of competitors or other attractions and what's being charged. But it's also important to look at the quality of the product that you're going to be delivering, because there's a whole range of how intense or how kind of entry level you can be with various types of attractions, including laser tag. And I think the more enhanced and the more wowing your experience is, I think you're able to charge a little bit more than if you're doing something that's just entry level at first before scaling it up into the future.
Yeah, you're right. In a lot of stores that have done equipment upgrades, they've seen the ability just to increase their price point $1 or $2 a game. And that has a direct impact on that ROI or that investment into that new set of laser tag hardware. In the digital world that we're all competing in, from a marketing perspective, just the overall look and feel. And when we get in, I don't know if this has been mentioned in some of the other seminars, but the millennials willingness to pay more money for a better experience, and those buying habits trickle down to how they're spending money on their kids. And so if you can show a more wow effect, we'll say, if you can show them the wow effect on your marketing, on your game experiences, then who's not going to spend the extra couple bucks to go to your facility over the guy down the street that had the local high school come in and splatter paint all over his walls?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting as we're kind of towards the end here. One of the things, and we had a couple of great questions that were posed into the chat, and as well as I see that some folks are engaging on that topic. But I thought it'd be good for us to kind of talk at it at large. So one is what is the future of VR's impact going to be on laser tag? And I think one of the things that I've seen, and you guys tell me and weigh in on some other factors as well, but one of the big things that I've seen is, one, that these are not mutually exclusive types of attractions. So you look at somebody like an Andretti's or elsewhere where they have a high presence of VR and dark rides, but they still are very successful with what their laser tag operations is. And I think the biggest thing that comes down to is the throughput and capacity of the different attractions that you have. And so right now, being able to still accommodate 40 plus players in a 4 times an hour as a churn and burn and getting people through and handling that volume of traffic, laser tag still has a very long runway. The other thing that's very interesting is that laser tag has been around for over 40 years now. I mean, it was concerned to be this fad. And so the way that laser tag experience continues to reinvent itself with these different components and interactive elements, and then the physicality nature of what you're actually doing in that space, there's still a lot of things I think that still keep that very relevant. What are you guys seeing as far as, kind of some harmonies that you can do with VR? Are you guys seeing this as something to be, oh boy, we better start boarding up the windows? I mean, I personally.
No, I don't see VR as a threat to laser tag by any means. I do see it as complementary. Mm-hmm. Like you were saying, I have seen operators like Andretti's have success offering both, and you're right. I think a big part of it is the size. You put 40 people in, but it's also the physicality and just where the VR industry is. It's still evolving and it still has barriers of its own to overcome. And so it's not like it's there suddenly on par with the laser tag experience. And you're right, as long as laser tag continues to evolve and improve what it's offering, then there'll be a place for it. And who knows, down the line, I know a lot of people have talked about augmented reality as something that could merge with laser tag. And, I think that's a very interesting future possibility for the industry, is taking some of, not VR specifically because you're closed in, but you take something like augmented reality where you can actually enhance the experience and combine the physical and the virtual. And who knows, in a couple years or 5 years, that might be what we're talking about in a future 360.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a laser tag is very good at the entertainment jujitsu where it can absorb a lot of things and then be able to pivot and kind of reinvent that. So I like that a lot. The last thing that I think I want to kind of button cap on, there were a couple of questions from Glowtron X as well as Linda as far as for those evolutions to our piece. So Shane, you were talking about, doing some of the smaller things up through the first few years and then doing some larger things later on. When you look at something like the reinvestment of your arcade, it's okay, well, we should take 10% of those earnings and save that annually to reinvest back in. I think one of the things that we'll have actually on day 3 on Thursday with Operate Your Laser Tag that we'll get into a little bit more is, okay, and like in year 1, you're still in your honeymoon phase, so you're not necessarily going to need to do a whole lot. But the beginning of year 2, you may be doing things that are, a couple $1,000s worth of things, small, little pieces and parts. And then as you get into years 3, 4, and 5, you may, just find one more kind of signature element or large piece or new target cluster to be able to add in. So that way there are a few novel pieces that can be blended into your space but then you're still getting a very good return on your investment on the core equipment itself, like you had mentioned. And so do you guys recommend a certain percentage? I've typically steered customers towards, it's going to be a little bit relative, but you should be looking at kind of small $1,000 to $5,000 things in the first few years because it does generate well, and then getting into some larger budgeted items.
Yeah, I wouldn't forget about the software side of it too.
Right.
Like there's a lot you can do with the annual software updates that your laser tag provider would do. So short of that, which would be, budgeted for as part of a support package or free upgrades, I would definitely say, small, like a few $1,000s for minor things would be, you get some good bang for your buck. The biggest thing I would say is to have more of a long-term vision. So instead of thinking like piecemeal, like, okay, this year, this is what I want to do, think a couple years out and make sure that your spending is getting you towards that overall goal and that vision you have in your head. And that's where you guys can really come in, right? And you can come in with a really cool vision that you can share with the operators that they could work towards over a period of years with incremental upgrades.
Well, and again, it's so market dependent. For instance, you mentioned Glotron. In their market, they're going to be heavily college anchored, and so that market's going to turn over every 4 years. And so, the need to go back and do some major reinvestment may not be as critical. But I do agree with Jeff. There's a lot of things that you can do from a software side, reprogramming games, changing a DMX lighting, adding in different soundtracks. I mean, there's so many minor things that you can do to really just change the experience. That's one of the things with laser tag. No two games are the same, and that's why laser tag is very successful. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I did it.
You're fine.
Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
We've been talking about laser tag for a long, long time. I know we all could, but I think it's going to be important for us to stay on time because there's a lot of really great presentations. So I wanted to take a moment, thank all of you for joining us and being able to share your knowledge. All the attendees, thank you for watching. We're going to go ahead and wrap here. We've got two really awesome presentations. Sarah Vigil is going to be talking about email marketing and how to build that database. And then David Wass is going to be breaking down your location and demographics and competition to understand how to position your new business in a market. So it's going to be really fantastic information.
Excellent. And for those of you that still have questions on laser tag, connect with Mike, connect with Jeff, connect with Shane directly. Go check out the booths. They are three of the top minds when it comes to laser tag in our industry. So with that, gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been great. We'll continue to nerd out with you as the event goes along. And everyone, go forth and enjoy those next sessions.